Thanks, Josh. Good afternoon, everyone. Sort of a somber week this week, really for us all in the athletic department, especially, the passing of two icons, in my opinion, here at the University, Leonard Wiltz and Lynn Williams. The burial of Leonard Saturday, very tough, and then Lynn's funeral being tomorrow morning. It's going to be a tough one as well. And both of those guys were very well respected within the athletic department, two very good friends of mine and of our baseball program. So, condolences out to their families. Recapping the week that was, Tuesday, we really got off to a great start, with a win Tuesday against Northwestern State here. A great performance, or great performances really all around from members of our pitching staff, members of the offensive staff. A great night for Hayden Cantrell, hitting for the cycle, the fourth time, I believe, in school history that has been done. So able to knock down that win and really, feel good about where things were going or where they were headed, especially coming off a series win the prior weekend up in Little Rock. Then we go into Tulane Wednesday and didn't take advantage of a lot of opportunities that were presented to us. 0 for 10, I believe it was, with runners in scoring position. Didn't pitch really well the front end of the game. We were able to get some quality innings from Grant Cox and kind of hold serve a little bit, but we weren't able offensively to overcome anything that they were giving us. So dropped that game and then set our sights to the weekend. Appalachian State coming in here Friday, a tough loss. What happened Friday was unfortunately what's happened many times this season, where we've taken leads late into the game, haven't been able to hold that lead. Again, missed opportunities on the offensive side of the ball to score more runs than what we did, and dropped that game. Our guys responded really well on Saturday. Played a good game on Saturday. Had a big 6-run sixth inning that was able to propel us to that victory, evening the series. Come out Sunday, hoping to get a series win and really a carbon copy, so to speak, of what happened Friday night. Just, weren't able to hold the lead late, didn't take advantage. I believe 9 free bases they gave us between hit batters and walks, or possibly an error. 9 free bases, and weren't able to take advantage of those. So, not that great of a week, really, for us. So, good thing about it is we get to start again this week with a game tomorrow night, and then another conference series this upcoming weekend at Troy. Another unfortunate thing for us is over the weekend, another man down with Hunter Castles. Not sure the extent of how long that's going to be, but, had to come out of a game, really kind of lost some feeling and some pain in his throwing arm. We thought it was from where he got hit with a pitch just prior to that, on the back around the top of the arm or the shoulder. Thought that maybe it was just sending pain through that arm. Trainer fears that it could possibly be a rotator cuff. So we don't know the extent of it now. There's going to be tests done on it. So, possibly another man down for us. But if that is the case, as with all the others, we're just going to have to move on, and we're going to have to deal with it and try to make the best of the situation, Any questions? I have no idea if Gunnar is back on track for Friday. I don't think any of us, have any idea if he is back on track or not. The thing with Gunnar, before the season started, our hope was that he was going to be able to be, obviously a consistent arm for us that could go out there every Friday night. That hasn't been the case. Up until this point, it's been every other weekend. And right now, we're really not sure. He has some tightness. I don't know if he does today. I have not seen him today. Have not spoken to Coach Robichaux today, who's at the hospital with his father, who's having surgery today. But so we haven't been able to get together as a staff to talk about any of those things yet. So I do not know if he's on track for this Friday. What I do know, what has been discussed, that when he does return, it will more than likely be in a bullpen role. It'll probably be in a relief role, because to date, he hasn't been able to, as you guys know, go for more than 5 innings, and reach that pitch count of about 70, 75 pitches where his forearm will start to tighten up a little bit. And so when he does come back, I'm pretty certain that it'll be in a relief role.
So is it out just as a precautionary measure, or is he just kind of some knick-knack injuries?
No, it's, precautionary, I guess, but he's out because he physically can't throw. His arm doesn't feel good enough to throw.
With his situation and some of the other inconsistencies we've had staff-wise, how important has what parents can give him?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious, how important that's been, because without the outings that Austin Perrin has been giving us, I would really hate to even think about what would be going on if Perrin hadn't been as consistent as he has been, especially on the weekends. Every time he's been out, he's ate up innings, 6, 7+ innings, really done a phenomenal job for us. So what he's done has been huge.
Obviously, knowing being around Gunnar for 3 years and seeing the work that he had to put in to even get back to this point, is it tough to kind of watch him get back to this point, but not be to where he and maybe y'all envisioned him to be?
Well, first of all, no one feels worse than Gunnar Leger does, and there's no one more than him that wants to be out there helping his teammates, out on that field. But it is really tough because for 3 years we've seen how much work Gunnar has put into preparing himself every week to compete at a high level. And for him not to be able to do that, we still see him working. His work ethic is no different. He's doing everything he can to prepare himself, but there's limitations there that are preventing him from getting out on the field. So, it has been tough to watch because for 3 years he's been Joe consistent. He really has, and being out there every Friday, and not just being out there, but knowing what you're going to get every single time he goes out. And to not have that when he's still a part of this program, it really has been tough. But, he's fighting through it. He's doing everything that he can. The trainers are doing everything that they can to get him back out on the field. Hopefully we'll have him back out there soon. And, hey, if it isn't a relief role, then, that's a positive. I think you're absolutely correct. There's some guys you're a little nervous about if they've been a reliever and then you have to turn them into a starter, or if they've started their whole career and then all of a sudden you need them to throw out of the bullpen. Some guys can do it. Some guys can do it not so great. Gunner's mentality, work ethic, whether he's in the ball game in the top or bottom of the first or top or bottom of the ninth, I really think it's no different for him because of his mentality. Absolutely, there's hope that he is going to do that, but at this point in time, we just don't know because it's just not responding. His arm is not responding the way that he thought that we thought that it would be, and we didn't. When the season started, as I mentioned, we hoped that he would be able to be Joe consistent for us again. But, coming off of the injury that he had, the procedure that he had, there was just a lot of unknowns. And some of those unknowns are starting to rear their ugly head, so to speak.
Coach Rose was saying, obviously, you guys don't have a closer this year. You're trying to do the best you can to just manage the end of the game. But having said that, what's just the difficulty of just not having somebody that has the muscle memory and the emotional readiness every time of getting used to being a closer? How do you adjust in terms of closing games and having a different person do it?
Well, what Coach said is right. We definitely do not have a defined closer on this team. No one that is in that role and knows that he's going to be out there in the last inning trying to close it out. Nobody that we can look at on the lineup card and say, okay, it's time to get this person hot and ready to go. It's kind of whoever's in the game, depending on the number of times that the batting order has seen him, depending on what his pitch count is, depending on how he's still having success out there or not, kind of depends on how we make our decision. If a guy's got a team hogtied really good and we get to the ninth and we're going to send that guy back out and see if he can close it out. If we feel we need to bring a fresh arm in, we'll do that, but it'll be a fresh arm that, isn't a closer per se that's used to throwing in that role. And that's tough because the bullpen guys, the closer obviously knows when he's coming in the ball game. The bullpen guys, they need to be ready at any point. So, but that ready at any point is a little different than ready for the ninth and to get those last 3 outs. The last 3 outs of a ball game are very, very tough to get. They really are. That's why they pay. I know you guys have heard Tony say this many a times, but they pay closers in the big leagues a lot of times as much as they pay starters or 3 or 4 hole hitters, because those last 3 outs, it seems like it would be easy to get. It's only 3 outs, but man, as you guys saw yesterday, they're hard to come by. Well, I don't think that it's more important than any other midweek game or any other game is, but, it's our next game, and we do have a sour taste in our mouth right now for how yesterday ended. So, yes, we want to get back out there as soon as possible. I really wish it was this afternoon, but we've got to wait till tomorrow. So, I think our guys will be ready to get, victory, that victory taste back in their mouth. And it was really tough yesterday because – you go from potentially winning the series, going 4-2 in conference, to within a matter of 5-10 minutes, you're on the bad end of that game. So very tough.
Next man up is something all coaches and athletes think, but y'all are having to say that a lot this year. I mean, at some point it has to get to the point where it's almost not even a fair statement.
Well, you're right. I think it was at the Tulane game last week where I actually made that statement to Tony, not only with what we've been going through as a baseball team, but just everything kind of that's been happening around the athletic department as well. I mentioned, the deaths of Leonard and then Lynn. We found out about Lynn in the second inning of that game at Tulane. And then we dropped the ball game, and I told that to Tony. I said, man, at some point this is all going to come. Tell me this is all going to come to an end, right? But we've got to just work through it. Life, it doesn't stop. It doesn't slow down for anything or anybody, and it won't slow down, for the injuries that we have or the inabilities that we have to try to overcome each ball game. We've got to keep pressing forward, keep trying to get better, keep trying to have a great mindset about things, and I do believe that at some point this is going to turn around and we're going to be able to play more consistent baseball. I do believe that, and we showed that for a very brief stretch earlier on, but then some things reverted back to the way they were. So we've got to just do our best to find some consistency in our game. I think so. You're right. Last season, it did take quite a while for us to even win a weekend series, and we were able to do that fairly early this year. So the inconsistencies this year have not been as long, so to speak, as they were last year. So that is one encouraging thing, to see that guys can come out of dropping 2 or 3 games in a row. We can get back and win a couple in a row, but just haven't been able to find that win 6, 7, 8 in a row to try to get us back to 500 and possibly get over that hump to get over 500 to where we can really, really feel good about what we're doing out there. The players, the coaches, the program, just, because you want to feel good about what you're doing. And we feel good, as what we're doing with the program, obviously. But I mean just the day-to-day play, winning cures a lot of things. I wish you guys could see, the guys in the clubhouse after wins and just the elation, because that there haven't been quite the number of wins that we expected, that we wanted, to where when you win a ball game, it's like, okay, let's move on to the next one. These guys are hungry to win. They're competitors. They want to win, and I'm so excited and happy for these guys when we do get a win, and you see them enjoying themselves in the clubhouse for a little bit before moving on to the next game. So, like I said, hopefully within the near future, we can find a lot more consistency.
Coach, talk about the consistency you just spoke of with Tulane or Vale, who seem to be a
Well, we're right at midway of the season, just about. I think tonight's going to be tomorrow night's going to be game number 26. 28 obviously is the midway point. So, we've been at it for quite some time, and both of those gentlemen have worked really hard to try and get their game more consistent. I think what's helped both of those guys, and it doesn't happen every at bat, but I think you see them taking more pitches that they used to offer at and miss. And some of those pitches didn't even have a chance to be strikes, out of the pitcher's hand. I mean, it was a ball as soon as it left the pitcher's hand, and those guys were offering at it. So they're taking more of those pitches. They're getting into better counts. As you know, you have a much better chance of hitting when you're a better hitter's count. So I think it can be attributed to just a little bit more patience that they've had at the plate, taking some tough pitches, getting in better offensive counts. And then, when they one thing that we do way too much as an offense as a whole, and those two guys, especially being bigger guys in the lineup, is we foul off way too many pitches. We foul off pitches and get ourselves in a 2-strike count very early. They have cut down a little bit on their foul balls and have put more balls in play. When those two guys put the ball in play, they usually put it in play pretty hard. So they have a great chance of finding some success when they do that.
With the injuries that you do have, who have you noticed stepping up, or who do you see in the future stepping up to fill the voids from Bourgeois, Lahair, and possibly?
Well, as far as who has stepped up, I really don't know if anybody has stepped up and replaced those guys, so to speak. There have been guys that we've put out there that at times have shown some promise. There's some guys that are out there that we think quite possibly will end up having a very good career here. But, as of yet, I don't think you can say that this guy has really picked up the slack for Bourgeois, or this guy has really picked up the slack for, this guy or that guy, or this guy's picked up the slack for Gunnar or anything like that, because those guys, when they were out there competing, they competed at a very high level, from Gunnar Leger to Gavin Bourgeois being very, very consistent for us last year, every day out in left field. Wyndham is out now for the remainder of the season. Wyndham is an outstanding defender at third base. And, O'Neill is a good defender as well. But, you guys all have watched us play. I mean, Jonathan Wyndham he brings an arrogance to our infield that makes everybody else play a little more arrogantly because of the way he plays defense. So when you take something like that off the field, even though he may not be setting the world on fire with his offensive production, the things that he does defensively for us and makes everybody else around the infield play is really, that's a lot when you have to take that guy off the field. So, guys like Colton Frank, Alex Haney that have gone out to left field, they have been serviceable. And Alex Haney, the first game that he was out there, had a big hit, in his first at bat, almost had a home run the other night. So, those guys have done okay, but I really don't think that there's been anybody that is, hey, this guy is really picking up this guy's slack.
Are you surprised at the defensive struggles at time with this stuff? Is that a little bit surprising to the staff? And one other question, is it me, or has there been a lot of hit batsmen this year, both ends?
Well,
More than normal, or no?
first question, a little surprised at what we've committed as far as errors go defensively. Lately it's been a lot better. It's been a lot better, and our fielding percentage is still good. It's not as good right now as it was last year. But you're right. We thought, hey, top 10, 11th, 10th, whatever it was last year in the country in defense, same defenders back this year. But then, so you take a Gavin Bourgeois off the field. Daniel Lahair really hasn't played the outfield at all. He's been at first base. Again, another guy that plays the game with arrogance. Jonathan Wyndham, there's some pieces to that defense that, are out from what the defense was last year. So, because of that, you commit a few more errors, uncharacteristic errors. Some of them have been, I think, mental errors, but a little bit surprising. The hit by pitches, pitchers it's tough for pitchers to throw in. It really is. They're trained for the most part to throw away. 75 to 80% of balls are thrown away, not in. So when they train to throw in, in their bullpens and during the week leading up to their starts or their outings. But, throwing in for those guys is really tough to do. You really have to, a pitcher has to have the mindset that I'm going to throw in and whatever happens, happens. And usually when you have that mindset, you don't hit a batter. You get it where it needs to be. When you have the mindset that this pitch has been called in, I'm going to try to throw it in, but there's a good chance I may hit this guy. You're going to hit that guy. You really will. So, throwing in is a mentality, just like everything else. It's a mentality of wanting to get that ball in. The hitter's leaning over the plate, especially with 2 strikes, because that's where the majority of the pitches are thrown. I'm going to bust him in, but I'm not going to hit him. I'm going to get it there. I'm going to shove it in there.
What's the biggest challenges of the series against Troy this weekend to go on the road and get back on track?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is ourselves, really. We have to take care of ourselves and the things that we can control and the things that we can do well that help us win ball games. Troy has gotten off to a rough start in conference play just like we have. They're 1-5. The advantage for them is they're going to be on their home field. One thing about us going there, we have had a lot of success in that ballpark. I think at worst, we've always won 2 out of 3 at that ballpark. We won a conference tournament at that ballpark in 1995. So it's a great hitter's ballpark. So we have had some success there. There's a few players on this team that have been to that park. So hopefully, we have a great game tomorrow night, which gives us some confidence going into the weekend. If we have Gunnar for this weekend, that's another boost of confidence for our club. So, but regardless, what happens tomorrow, we've got to take each game with this is the game that things are going to start to become more consistent. This is the game that I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that we end up on the right side of this. He's a day-to-day as well. He had a brace on the other day for I think it was the Saturday game. He took batting practice, moved around okay. We thought it was going to be good enough to go out there and play. Obviously, you could tell by his first at bat, he couldn't push off, couldn't run. So Daniel's a day-to-day type of injury.